Let's do it. It's go time.
Welcome to Go Time, your source for wide-ranging discussions from all around the Go community. Check us out on the web at gotime.fm. There you'll find lists of recommended and popular episodes, unpopular opinion clips, and a request form, so you can let us know what you want to hear about on the pod. Big thanks to our partners at Fly.io. Over 3 million apps have launched on Fly. Deploy yours in 5 minutes. Learn how at Fly.io. Okay, here we go.
What's up, Gophers? I'm here with Kyle Carberry, CTO at Coder.com. So Kyle, I've known Coder as the IDE in the cloud, and over time, you've iterated to become a fully open source cloud development environment, a CDE. How do you explain what Coder is and what it does?
Coder is a platform to provision you a development environment on any cloud infrastructure. That might be in a VM, that might be inside of a container, but Coder is kind of a developer's route to provision infrastructure for them to write software inside of. We started with the IDE, which is kind of like putting VS Code in the browser, which is what most people are certainly familiar with us for. And we kind of funneled that into more of a platform where people provision the infrastructure. And a lot of people do use a web IDE with Coder. A lot of people use a local IDE and just connect in.
Okay, so what are teams coming to you for? Who's coming to you?
What people really come to us for, particularly this problem is really exacerbated if you're a large enterprise, is when you have like 500 engineers that are trying to update like a version of Python. And instead, we allow one engineer to go through that tedious work of updating some scripts or some Docker container. And then you can actually just deploy that in one click to say like 500 engineers and make it really, really simple.
Let's laser focus in on the platform engineer. It is that team's job to provide the best infrastructure, the best platform for their given applications, for their teams. What are some signs or signals for platform engineers to think about when it might be time to consider a cloud development environment like Coder.com?
So as a platform engineer, developers might constantly be opening like IT tickets that their computer isn't working properly. They might constantly want to update dependencies, but that's a big mess. You constantly have to email people across your team to say, hey, Adam, could we update from Java 17 to Java 18? Those are the kinds of problems that people typically have. That's the status quo. You ship people more powerful laptops to improve the build times of your projects. You try to reduce the complexity of your products instead of simply, leveraging better hardware. We believe that the future is leveraging the cloud for a lot of these things. You can get more powerful instances in GCP or AWS that can make the build times faster instantly. You can let one developer create a standardized environment and then distribute it to 1,000 so that when you're updating from Java 17 to 18, it's just a simple pull request. You can co-locate your servers right next to something like S3 or a database that you're using in development so that you get immediate data transfers and it's not slow. Many of our customers, which is a crazy thing to say, but they use absolutely massive monorepos and they get clones that go from like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour to simply like a minute or 30 seconds. It's just a lot simpler when all of your engineers are standardized on one centralized piece of infrastructure and then one person can impact the lives of hundreds of engineers. And with that, we don't believe that everything belongs in the cloud. We think that some workloads are really amazing for it, and some are absolutely terrible. Coder should be a self-serve offering to your engineers. It should not be prescriptive, where you migrate all pieces of software development into the cloud. Only the things that really get a lot better by running them in this cloud-native way do we really promote moving.
Well, it might be time to consider a cloud development environment. And open source is awesome, and Coder is fully open source. You can go to Coder.com, get a demo, or try it right now, or even start a 30-day trial of Coder Enterprise. Once again, Coder.com, that's Coder.com, Coder.com.
Hello and welcome to Go Time. In this episode, I'm joined by some of our lovely Go community leaders who are affiliated with a number of various meetups, community-based groups around the world. We have guests from Guadalajara, St. Louis, New York, and GoBridge Atlanta. And together we're all going to explore the ins and outs of organizing meetups, the benefits of attending, how much fun you can have as a meetup organizer yourself, as well as diving in a little bit on the Go Developer Network. What is that? What do they do? And then the current state of the Go Meetup community. Kind of taking a pulse on, as we look at the global meetup and Go community vibe, what is it? Are we seeing excitement? Are we seeing people kind of post-COVID staying home more? So we'll dig in a little bit there. And then hopefully all you lovely listeners will come out of this understanding some tips and tricks on how to either organize or make the most of meetups going forward. Right now, I'm going to introduce some of our lovely guests. So first lovely guest is Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being on. So Hannah is a software engineer who enjoys conquering complexity in programming and is a lead organizer of GoBridge Atlanta. She's also likes to say publicly that, Matthias, you were right. I did like Go when I tried it. Called out, public statement. Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Jennifer Johnson, pronoun she, her. Jennifer is a senior software engineer manager at Storj, an open source decentralized cloud object storage service written in Go, of course. She was one of the leads organizing for the Atlanta chapter of Women Who Go from 2018 to 2020, and now is collaborating to grow GoBridge Atlanta along with Hannah. And a fun fact is that Jennifer has 3 rescue pups. That's so cute. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
What breeds are your 3 rescue pups?
They're all mixes, but pit bull, lab, husky, all the things.
Gorgeous. We're going to have to share some pictures after this. That's very cute. Well, thank you for being here. Next up, we have Guillermo Galván, who is a passionate technologist and open source enthusiast, skilled at solving problems and converting data into products. And he is one of the meetup leads for Golang Guadalajara in Mexico. Guillermo, hello. How are you?
Hi, thank you for the introduction, Angelica. Hi, nice to meet you all.
And thank you so much for jumping on with the time difference. We truly have a global representation here today. Now we have Matthew, who is from New Jersey. He's currently a staff site reliability engineer at Cockroach Labs, and he organizes NJ Code and Coffee and platform engineering New York meetups, as well as working closely with GoBridge and the GoBridge team on meetups and mentoring. And a fun fact, which I was a little bit surprised to hear, that he has willingly been pepper sprayed. I'm not sure if that's a fun fact. Hey, Matthew, how are you?
Hey.
Why do you like being pepper sprayed?
I can't say I like it, but thank you for having me on the show, by the way. I couldn't say I like it, but I did want to see how it felt. So I willingly asked my friends to do it.
And what was the conclusion? As someone who doesn't want to willingly be pepper sprayed, how did it feel?
You have like 5 to 10 seconds before it kicks in, and then it just burns. And the only thing that feels good is like air, like just air, not any wetness or anything.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
Noted. I think after that, I will not want
Just
to
in
be
case.
pepper sprayed in the future. Next up, we have Paul Baylog, who currently lives in St. Louis, but I'm told, is relocating soon to North Carolina. So any of you lovely North Carolina gophers, you have a new community member coming over and joining you all. And he helps run the following meetups. So St. Louis Go Meetup, Cloud Native Community Group, and MO Reliability. He is a CNCF ambassador, software architect, and a developer advocate. He works with open source community around kind of cloud technologies like K6, Kubernetes, and Kafka, among some others. And you may have seen him on his previous talks on YouTube, hosting the Grafana office hours, or his channel for the St. Louis developer communities around Go, Kubernetes, and cloud native technologies. So not a stranger to being on the internet, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning, y'all. I'm getting ready for the move to North Carolina. So, yeah, I'm going to try to do that. But see what happens when you let people write their own bios. You probably need a drink after all that. I'm sorry, you're probably parched, but
you gotta do it. You gotta intro people how they want to be introduced.
Right,
you know?
right.
And for those of you who can't tune in live and see the video for this podcast, Paul has the most illustrious beard and like mustache you'll ever see in your life. And if you ever get the pleasure of meeting Paul in person, has some really fun tattoos. So highly recommend.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Last but certainly not least, we have Wilkin Riviera, who is based in South Florida and is a GDN program lead. He's an open source software engineer by trade with a passion for Go, mentoring, and community building. When he's not coding, he leads the GDN, so Go Developer Network program, as a contributing member to GoBridge, working to continue the mission of increasing diversity within the Go community and empowering the next generation of Go developers. And I know that last sentence sounds like it's a lot, and I know a lot of people say, they're an advocate for diversity, they're an advocate for inclusion, but I can firsthand experience, put my hand on heart and say this is truly true for Wilkin. I've known Wilkin for a number of years, and he is one of the core people who brought me into the Go community. You can, tell him off and get angry at him later for that. But he has brought a lot of other wonderful gophers into the community too. So truly, truly a joy to have you on the show, Wilkin.
Likewise. Well, Angelica, thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure working with you, going back from New York and to doing these video conferences. So happy to be here and break bread with everyone on the stream. I feel I'm blessed to have met every person here individually and chatted with them and had a beer or some food. So thank you.
No, we truly have an amazing panel today. I'm so excited to dive in. So we'll start with the kind of very basics. I'd love to hear a little bit about, kind of from each of you, maybe one or two words, a sentence on how you would describe the Go community and kind of what makes it so special. I'll kind of go around. Maybe Hannah, we'll start with you.
Sure. I like how consistent it is about working with people. Good guidelines. You don't have to argue about the little details because Go already has them built in.
Wilkin?
Yeah, I want to say inclusive. I feel like, I have yet to go to any event at any conference, meetup, just outing for Go that I haven't met, people who, everyone I meet is just like, hey, open to share what they've worked on or their lessons or, or their troubles. And, so I feel it's just very inclusive. I think that's the one word that comes to mind when I think about the Go community. Everyone is welcomed.
Agreed. Paul?
Yeah, I would expand on that about the welcoming. I go to the GopherCon events and just, I don't know, everyone is just very cool, and I enjoy speaking with them. And, you can tell by this gray beard that I'm a little up there in the age, so all these young people, it makes me feel younger. So I don't know, it might be a midlife crisis.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't know if we're there yet, man. Give us a few more years.
If it's going on, yeah.
Jennifer, how about you?
Yeah, I would say encouraging, especially to beginners. My first GopherCon was 2018. I didn't know any Go and felt very welcome. So still in the community today, and also non-judgmental. So
100%. I think beginner friendly. So true. Same as you, came into Go in 2018, having never written a line of Go in my life, and we're still here. So
yeah.
Matthew, how about you?
Yeah, I would say the focus on the people is what really gets me, right? Because Go is not a particularly exciting language, right? Technically speaking, but not in a bad way, in a way of it's not breaking changes all the time and shipping features. It has a good 1.x compatibility promise. So the meetups and the community really focus around the people and how they're using Go in these different ways. And I like that a lot, right? Because other communities focus too much, I think, on the technical side and not enough about how people are using the technical side.
Guillermo, closing us out.
Sure, of course. Yes, I agree with that. That is very welcoming and also inclusive. One thing that I notice is that everyone is open to share their knowledge. Everyone is just helping each other, regardless of the experience level. And also, well, the spirit of collaboration is something that really sets the Go community apart.
For sure. And talking of collaboration, now we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what we're here to talk about, meetups. And I would love actually to stay with you, Guillermo, for this one. And then others, please jump in. Would love to hear a little bit about how you got into kind of community meetup organizing and kind of bringing people together in this way.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in reality, it all started with a casual chat with my friends in a bar. We were having we were like having a few drinks and chatting when we realized that there was missing a community for Go in Guadalajara. So we start simple. We start with an announcement on internet. We get supports from a local company that offer us their office space. And yes, that's how it all began. We got positive feedback from the attendance, and also from that we start to doing some workshops and also more talks. I think it was a good beginning at that time. Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's amazing. I think the amount of amazing ideas that have happened over kind of a coffee, a random chat, a beer, I think that's where truly great ideas are born.
Yes.
So, Paul, how did you get into this space? I mean, you organized quite a few, so...
Yeah. Well, mine started for completely selfish reasons. So I started because I wanted to go and start trying to get people to come and work for me. So that was the thing. I was being the one like, hey, you seem pretty smart. You got a job? Do you want to work for someplace cool? Because I was really looking for people to work for me and on my team. And we were doing things around Kubernetes and all that cool stuff, which, it's written in some language that is Go. It's but so mine was purely for selfish reasons. And, the organizer, he was stepping down. He had started it, was working it for a couple of years, and I kind of picked up. And they had one event before COVID. Wah, wah, wah.
I'd love to hear, Matt, a little bit from you.
No, sorry. I was going to say being an organizer is interesting because what Guillermo said really resonates with me. Like, I opened my mouth and now I organize meetups. That's literally how it happened. I was at a meetup and I was like, this would be nice if I can not have to go to New York and have one in New Jersey. Oh, do you want to do New Jersey meetup? Oh, sure. Yeah, I think so. And then, we like platform engineering. A couple of my friends got together. We like platform engineering. Oh, we should do a meetup. Oh, we're doing this. Okay. And that's kind of how I stumbled into both of those.
I mean, the way in which you're framing both kind of Matt, Guillermo, and Paul too, the way in which you're speaking about the process of going from like, we should do a meetup to it actually being a thing seems pretty, well, as you said, Matt, you kind of just happened.
Yeah, you just do it.
I would love to hear a little bit about the ease of organizing meetups and that process. Maybe Jennifer, hearing from you a little bit and your experience both, previously and now.
Sure. So I guess backing up a little bit, I was thinking like, I haven't thought about how Women Who Go Atlanta originally kind of started. So I think that was 2018 as well. And I went to GopherCon, and I think there was a Go Developer Network mingle mixer session. They were talking about, different meetups, and a colleague and I were like, we should just start one in Atlanta. Turns out that there was another woman who was trying to get it started. So we actually found her. I think we just asked around who was already involved in the Go meetup space. And so we reconnected with her. I asked my company, hey, do you want to sponsor our first meetup? And they're like, okay, whatever. Here's some money. And that's actually how I met Hannah. She attended our first meetup. And it was super low key. It was at a restaurant and we all just got together and chit chatted. So I think your original question, like the ease of starting it. Yeah, I think it's just kind of like you set a date, you get, you don't even have to have funding. You can do it, individual pay if there is a cost to it. And you just get some people together and start talking, and then kind of the ideas flow from there.
And I just want to add, I feel like reaching out, because I think it was Wilkin or Paul, or I ended up getting pushed. I talked on the Slack channel about restarting Go Bridge, and I got an email, hey, like, you need to get this stuff started. And I was like, okay. And like, they gave me all the information I needed to get started, to do a Zoom chat, whatever. Like, everybody is so helpful if you just reach out. And the Slack channel was great at doing that. When we ended up restarting Women as Go Bridge.
That's Wilkin. He's helpful. Me, not so much.
Well, you were the one who always gives me my Zoom stuff, so.
I want to add that the more established meetup organizers and workshop providers, for example, like Bill Kennedy and Johnny Borsico, like they actually came to our meetups early on. We just reached out, I think, to the GDN organizers, and we're like, hey, do you have anybody that we can like invite? They're like, for sure. So that was super streamlined and quite a privilege to have some like big names come to our fledgling meetups. So
you mentioned like you set a deadline or a date.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super important for meetup organizing. And one thing that can make it, if you don't set a deadline or a date, it can make organizing very difficult. But if you do it, like kind of lights the fire under you and lets you go forward. And I know venues and speakers can be hard to find, but if you set yourself a date, you kind of put yourself into overdrive to meet that date. And it's a stressful feeling, but a good feeling because you know you're doing something for the community.
Yeah. And I think one thing that can be a little stressful is, seeing if anyone else will come. But usually, you get some people and it's a good time.
And even, especially like Go Bridge, especially, not the main Go meetups, but Go Bridge, the smaller it is, sometimes the better it is. The more intimate, because you're more making connections, like with people who are more starting a lot. At least with our Go Bridge, it's a lot of people who are starting more, and it just is really great because you get to know them a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I can jump in, I want to applaud all of y'all for starting meetups, because thinking about my story and how I got started organizing, I don't have it in me to actually start one. I'm all good hosting and running, but starting one, not so much. So I applaud y'all for that, because that's no easy feat. Thinking a little back how I got started, I'll be frank, I was really nervous about joining meetups. I remember one of my first, it was DevOps meetups that I was there, and I was like, oh man, I have to talk to people here. And then I was nervous. And then I thought for a second, I was like, well, I'm pretty sure everyone else is just as nervous as I am to meet new people. And it was at that moment where I was like, all right, I'm gonna make this happen. And I started talking to people, and then I'm like, well, if I want to get out of this shell, I should probably be on stage. And then, one thing led to another, and I ran into the Go community, and they needed help in Golang NYC. I stepped up, and then the rest is history, right? Because I love meeting people and had an opportunity to meet everyone, and kind of going into that, how easy it is to get started. A lot of people just want to share their stories, right? So it was very easy for me, I felt, to ask them like, hey, do you want to share something about what you're working on or what you're struggling with? And a lot of people signed up, which was great. And it made it easier. I don't say very easy because it's not that easy, but it'd be easier to like host meetups in New York City and get that, that community feeling going, and making sure that people are just showing up to just partake and have fun. Right. So I thought that's great. I'll stop there because I forgot where I was going with that point. But nonetheless, I definitely want to applaud y'all for what y'all did.
No, a really admirable thing to kind of be that starting point where you can grow a community of kind of excited gophers or other technologists. In terms of switching topics slightly, why you think people should go to meetups? Like I feel like I go onto meetup.com, I look at the Go community specifically, and we have like a huge array of different like remote, in-person meetups around the world. Why, from your perspective, should people take, time out of their day, their evenings, potentially to go to these meetups? Like, what are the benefits for attendees?
Can I jump on this one first, y'all? Is everybody cool with that? All right. So I thought about this for a little bit, and it kind of brings me back to when I grew up in New York City, right? Like in New York, hanging out on a stoop, I don't know, it's the thing, right? Everybody comes to a stoop, they sit there, they tell stories. People walk by, they stop, and they share their stories, right? You know what's going on. And thinking about that and looking at what meetups do, they give you that same level of community and perspective, right? People just come up in here and they share their stories. You get an opportunity to learn from what they're saying. And, one interesting thing is like, we always say, oh, we learn from our mistakes, but I feel like meetups are a great opportunity to learn from other people's mistakes, right? Not saying that all mistakes are bad, right? Things happen accidentally, but it's a way of learning without having to go through it, right? And I think that in itself is a huge is a huge benefit of going to meetups, right? Because when you're on the day-to-day, you're working with your team and you kind of just know what you know, right? But when you start talking to other people, you start seeing, like, getting perspective from their work or from their cultures, and like all of that comes together and you have an opportunity to make something beautiful, right? Because now you have all these types of inputs that you can use at your disposal, right? So that's how I see meetups and why I think they're super important, right? On top of meeting new people.
Totally agree with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've done that, right? The stoop kids sort of deal, like hanging out. And we could probably all think of a time where we hung out with friends or family and we just had like a really good time sharing stories. And there was no agenda, right? There was no agenda. We just shared stories. And like, we all probably walked away from that feeling like motivated and happy. And that's what meetups are to me. And that's why I think people should go to meetups, because it's a motivating factor, right? And like, one thing that I see meetups kind of struggle with, and where I like kind of like draw the line a little bit, is it's a meetup, not a showcase, right? It's not like a place for you to just like put speakers up and talk at the community. You need to give the community time to be a community. And if you don't do that and you just have meetups that have like talks and nothing else, you lose what Wilkins said of that, like that stoopness, right? That togetherness, right? That you have, you lose that.
Stoopness.
Yeah, stoopness. I'm just thinking of Hey Arnold now. Like, it's just in my mind. Yeah.
Actually, my cousin had a good way of saying this. Like, go into those meetups, like being able to talk to people kind of like you would, especially if people are working remote now. Like, you get that same feeling where you're able to, actually talk about like something free form and it comes. But like, I like how she says, like, you're going to get an answer to something you didn't realize was a question in your mind. Like, you're going in and you're like, oh, I'm doing this thing. And then somebody will bring something up and it's like, oh, shoot. Like, I didn't even think about considering that. Oh, shoot. Well, that's the answer right there. Like, that's exactly what Wilkin was saying, I guess, almost. But like, also the ability to meet people who are like you doing the same thing was a great thing. Like, when I went to Jennifer's first Women Who Go meetup, like, I worked with all men all the time. I had no person like me that I could talk with, and going to the Women Who Go was really great because it's like, wow, it's not all men. And that was such a big deal for me, because I had worked at Career Builder for a bit and I knew I could work with other people that were, not men, but like, I've mostly worked in the startup area. And so I've always been the only person. So it was just amazing. And so having that ability to meet people that are like you is just great.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And by the way, your cousin said it much better than I did. So I think it was.
So you kind of touched on something that I think I've personally struggled with, thought about a lot. But I think for kind of new meetup organizers who are working out, what do they want to do? How do they want to spend this time? Is it, just bringing people together to meet each other, no agenda, no talks, just kind of provide some food and drink and have people, chit chat and get to know each other, more of a social hour, versus let's line up, 4 or 5 speakers, versus let's do a workshop and then have breaks where people can socialize. I'd be really interested to hear kind of how you all think about the format of your workshops / speakers / social hours, your meetups. And if you've tried out different formats, would love to hear what has worked well, what hasn't worked well. I might start with you, Guillermo. What is the format of the meetups that you all are organizing?
Well, we start with an initial plan, but it's not something that it stick with the plan, because something happened and for some reason or the situation, something changed, and then we have to improvise. So there is not a way to follow a plan. I think that we are improving while we are doing the workshop or the meetup, and also it's mostly like that. Mm-hmm.
So do you kind of try and get speakers and then have people socialize after your meetup? Or is it more, as you said, it changes? Obviously, you need to have flexibility. Speakers drop out, plans might change, but interested in kind of the format historically that you've gone. Have you got speakers, or have you just had it be, let's get a group of people together to chat?
We start first with a speaker and then with the talk. and then we have a plan B in case that something goes wrong. But yes, it's something like that. But at the end, everything is just well. It went well, even though that we have the difficulties where the speaker didn't arrive or something like that. People from that is attending the meetup also they start to participate. Also, they give their own like talks in order to fill that gaps. But yeah, it's like it's more like participative. Mhm.
I do want to say it's interesting to hear, Guillermo, how you run it, because I like from the GDN perspective, I get a notification for every meetup that's being created in the GDN, so I kind of get an idea of who's doing what and when. And I see a lot of activity coming out of Golang Guadalajara, so I'm always really impressed to see how consistent you have been, Guillermo and Rodolfo, that whole team over there. So nicely done, and so it's interesting to hear like how. I guess probably that's why it's so consistent, because you always have a plan B, right? Which is good. So it's like
Yes.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, we always try. Yes.
Is it okay if I chime in? The Atlanta area is kind of weird because we have the main meetup where we do a lot of talks. There's a little socialization before because the sponsors will buy pizza, Motion Recruitment. They buy us pizzas beforehand, and so you'll get people in like 30 minutes beforehand, but it's mostly talks. But we've, as GoBridge, have taken in and decided to do a more social, like, it's like me and the person who started Atlanta Go, or the Atlanta Go meetup, we've divided up. We handle more newer people looking for more personalized help, and he's handling more of the people who have been in the business 5-10 years. He's trying to get like really high quality professional, like we've had Bill Kennedy, and we've had like talks on how to contribute to Go, and like big like talks for people who are not just getting into Go. And so like having it be able to be remote for us, and they're doing in person for the Go, we've really tried to have both ways of attracting people in by just dividing and conquering.
Yeah, I think there's a good mix. Like the two meetups that I organize, one is more like agendaless ad hoc. We do kind of like an intro circle where everyone kind of tells each other like, what their name, where they're from, blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of just let it be, right? And let people self-organize. Every now and then there'll be a workshop. But for the other meetup that's geared more towards platform engineering, we do like 30 to 45 minutes of like social hour where you like eat and talk to people. And then usually we have like one or two talks that you sit for and you go. And like there's two ways of addressing the meetup community, right? Like you want these high profile speakers to come in because they draw your attendance in, and then you get a chance to address the entire community via the talk. But then you also want that like agenda list time where the community can like talk to one another. So like I just see it as two different avenues of communication, and I like to make sure the meetups have both of them.
Yeah, that's with the St. Louis one. We usually have a feature presentation, and of course we'll have the pizza. Got to have that, and then a lot of interaction.
Yeah, if you don't have food, they're gonna be mad at you.
Exactly, and I'll be sitting there by myself.
Yeah. But, okay, we'll swipe my credit card then. It's fine. It's fine.
Actually, I have self-sponsored the food several times, but yeah. But no, I mean, and we do a lot of, so I like to live stream our events, and that kind of started because, like I said before, with when I got the organizer position, we only had one in-person event before COVID hit and everything shut down. So it's like, well, I just started this. I don't want to give this up. So I started doing a crowdcast for our monthly meetups. So I would do that. And then Angelica even spoke at one of our events as well. Back in, I'm looking at the timeline, it was March of 2021. It's on the YouTube channel. But
you don't need to watch that.
I'm going to go watch that right after this.
Well, be sure to like and subscribe and smash that notification bell. And be sure to comment. But so as we started coming back to in-person events back in 22, I guess, I didn't want to lose. We had people that were actually attending and watching these things live. And then it's just, we didn't have big names presenting usually. I mean, we had, Angelica Hill, and then we did have Bill talk to us one time, but in person, it was pretty much only the local crew And then St. Louis is big in introversion or something. I don't know, because no one wants to speak. It's only me. And I'm actually an introvert. I just play an extrovert on YouTube. But so we try to do that. So I'll run around and be doing the camera and all this stuff and post editing and all that. But I'm going way off the rails here. But we usually try to stick to a feature presentation. And I'm keep trying to sway people into just commit to a lightning talk. Let's just have a quick 5-minute, what are you doing at work? And kind of just get that talk going if they didn't get it in the networking portion, where we're just kind of talking over pizza and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I still struggle with different things to do. I tried workshops. I don't think people really got the concept of what I was trying to do, but then again, though, I was being selfish and I started it at 3 p.m. And I said, hey, I'm just going to be here from 3 to 7, swing by. We'll work on anything that you got going on or whatever. And, it was me sitting by myself. I was a lonely guy.
I would have attended.
Yeah, no, people didn't get it. But I was at a co-working location. So I was hoping the people that were there, I mean, we had CrowdStrike was actually in that facility. None of them came up. Obviously,
did you have food? Did you have food there?
No.
Yeah, did you have food?
They may have not come up, but they definitely went down.
Shots fired.
I had to. I'm sorry. I had to.
So what I'm hearing generally,
we can edit that out, right?
So what I'm hearing generally is the consensus is there is no kind of perfect formula for a meetup. It really depends on the specific community. It depends on the specific type of people, your location. But the 3 elements that I feel like, please jump in if this is off, that have worked are kind of food, having some food, beverage. If you're asking people to kind of spend an evening with you, possibly, be missing dinner, because some of these meetups go late, providing food, beverages, it's gonna, also for people who maybe feel a little bit of apprehension, holding something I think is really helpful, like having a glass of water, having like a can of Coke in your hand. I personally feel like I can't really talk to people without something in my hands, because otherwise I get really anxious. I don't know. I do the whole why are my hands like this? That's so weird. Why are my arms
what do
so
I do
long?
With my hands?
Yeah, why are my arms so long? Why am I standing so weird? So I think there's also that.
Yeah, on the thing of food, have you ever met anyone that is unhappy when they're eating? I feel like we underestimate the whole, the idea of having food at these venues. People are eating, they're in a happy state, so they may not want to talk, but at least they're in a happy state, and I think it does lower the barrier. If anything, if you don't care anything about the talks, you can either say, hey, this food is good or bad. At least you got something to talk about, right? But I think for me, I think a good takeaway on the food front is it's welcoming. No one is ever unhappy with what they're eating, because if they don't like it, they're going to put it down anyway. You know what I mean? So I think double down on food. It's a big thing, food and, drinks.
You gotta have an easy entry, small talk topic.
Yeah.
And make sure, if you can, obviously budget allowing, that you have options for everyone. If you're not going to ask people their dietary restrictions, make sure you have, vegan, veggie, gluten-free. Make sure that you have the basic allergies covered, and up to you. But I personally feel just don't have nuts, just in case, because I feel like that's one of the more typical allergies. So I do think think it through. It's wonderful if you provide, these lovely 6 cheese pizzas, but make sure that you have everyone covered. So there isn't anyone, because I'm going to put my hands up. This has happened to me before, where I've gone to a meetup and I can't eat anything. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sad.
Yeah.
So do you think that through?
Yeah. So on that, and it's funny because Hannah and I were talking about gluten-free before, when we started doing the mic check. When I did my first event, my first Go Bridge workshop in Brooklyn, I did exactly that, right? I provided gluten-free options for pizza, regular pizza, meatless, with so on and so on, breakfast, same spread. At the end of the tutorial, I got some tips on, hey, what I could have done better. But everybody's like, man, thank you for the food. It was great. And the fact that you had options for me was awesome, right? And I think that's an important thing, because when they walk away from those events, they felt like they were taken care of, right? And they have a lasting moment, right? So it's like the next time you do it, like, yeah, I'll go support this person, right? So I think, again, sorry, I'll stop rambling. I know you were kind of going down your 3, Angelica. So
no, this is perfect. It just shows how important this first one is, and it's about inclusion. It's about making everyone feel welcome in this space and making everyone feel like they've been thought about.
Yeah, even for like a small gesture, like food.
But I mean, like Jennifer, when the first time she invited us out for the Women Who Go event a long time ago, like she didn't have a sponsor, so she just was like, well, let's have a dinner and everybody can pay for themselves. And so like, even if she can talk about it more, but even if you don't have a lot of money, like you could say, hey, we're going to go out and have food and like, chat and stuff. So like, you don't have to, like for your first meetup, like have $100 worth of food. Yeah,
so the food's very important.
Or the New York $1,000 worth of food.
Yeah, no, New York is difficult, honestly. Without, I help organize the Go New York City meetups now, and we have like 50 people or so, 50 to 80, and I'm like, oh yeah, like we'll just grab like a couple pizzas, and I'm like, oh cool. This is really expensive. Yeah. So getting sponsors is.
Can I say I'm jealous?
You're jealous of my expensive pizzas?
No. I'm usually our crowd is like 15 people. I'm so jealous of those large numbers.
It is.
If I'm honest, sometimes I think meetups that are smaller and more intimate tend to be more impactful. I think it's great when you have a load of people, but again, bringing it back to the like feeling welcome, feeling included. Also, kind of going to your point, Paul, a lot of people in our community in general, like in tech, are pretty introverted. Like there are a lot of people, like I personally also identify as a little bit of like an introverted extrovert, which anyone I tell to in the community is like, wait, no, that's ridiculous, Angelica. You talk to everyone. I'm like, no, because you put on, you feel welcome so you can come out of the shell, And I think having so many people bustling around sometimes can be more overwhelming than like an intimate group where you can truly talk to every person in the room.
This is true. They all get more Paul time.
I was gonna say, especially for like the speaker and like the host, right? Because a lot of the attendees of the meetup want to go talk to a speaker afterwards or want to go talk to the host afterwards. And when you have a larger meetup, that's a lot of people. And it's exhausting for like you as the host to receive the communication and also the people giving it. So it's like sometimes the smaller meetups are they're welcome. It's like, I could breathe easier.
Also, it's worth to mention that, well, depending on the number of people that attend, also is the number of people of organizers, because in our case, we are just 3 people who are organizing the meetup. So if we have like more than 20 people, it goes sometimes problematic because we lose sometimes control of that because organizing and also to attend them and something like that. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
That's definitely something. Don't go it alone.
Don't go it alone. Have a community of organizers too.
Co-organizers. Yes.
Also, so food is very important. Being welcoming, making sure the space is inclusive is really important. Kind of a mix of workshop, talk, but definitely social time. I feel like I've heard all of you speak about how important it is. You have these people in the room together. Let's just not have them all facing towards the front, not talking to each other. I'd love to hear kind of from you a little bit, Wilkin, given your involvement with like GDN. First and foremost, like for those who don't know, like what even is GDN? What do they do? And maybe you could give us a little bit of kind of from your viewpoint, where the Go community is at right now in your mind.
All right. So a couple of questions there. So before jumping into the GDN, what it is, where the community is, I want to touch a little bit on the mix, right? Having that blend of speakers and social aspect. I think from speaking to different meetup organizers throughout the GDN, I've come to learn that having that mix is crucial to having a sustainable meetup. Right? Because what you do is you're sort of you're creating a habit for people. Like if you have speakers, so people show up for the speakers, but then when you have the ad hoc sort of meetups, you create a habit for people to just naturally step up or, kind of speak, give a lightning talk. So over time, when you find yourself, I can't find speakers because no one wants to talk or no one, wants to travel, you'll find that your community kind of steps up, right? And I think, Rona, I apologize now if I get the group wrong. So Rona's out in Berlin, and I believe it was the Women Who Go Berlin group. But when I chatted with her, I know she had mentioned that the group had a really good ad hoc sort of ability for people who just show up and just like ad hocly start things up, right? And they're also really good at having featured speakers. And it was about that community, right? And I think they did a good blend of that. So so I guess that's my way of telling meetup organizers, do both. It works, right? It's not easy. I'll give you that. And we're here to support you as best as we can as part of the GDN. But if you can do it, I would try to swing to do both. All right. So that's my spiel on that. What's the GDN? Okay. The GDN, it's an abbreviation for, and that's for the Go Developer Network, right? So a little history on the Go Developer Network. It's an initiative that was started back by GoBridge and Google. And I definitely want to take a moment to thank Google right now because they've consistently, Google as part, in accordance with the Go team, have consistently sponsored us, and they sponsored us this year again for another round of $150,000 because they believe in what we do as part of GoBridge and GDN. And, so I really want to thank them and anyone else who's interested in sponsoring, who rely on Go or want to be part of the Go community. We're always welcome. We're always welcome new sponsors. You can reach out at support@gobridge.org. Okay. So so what is the GDN? What do we do? I mean, we're here for the community. We're here to help build the community for Go, right? We work with all of the meetup groups across the globe, right? And try to provide initiatives and support to help them get their communities up and running, right? I think some of you mentioned that we've chatted before on Slack or on email, right? If you want to start a new organization or new group, you can reach out to us and we'll provide you with some guidelines on how to get started, some general ideas on what your first topic can be, and then make the connections, right? We try to connect you with speakers or sponsors that can assist your local communities so that you can grow a successful meetup group, right? A few benefits on the GDN side is, one, from a meetup perspective, we cover all the meetup fees, right? When we first started, that's what we were doing. We were covering up all the meetup fees. So as long as you consistently have meetups, we'll gladly keep paying, right? But we've sort of expanded on that, right? Because it's more than just paying meetup fees. We know that in order to be a successful community, you need to have the right level of support and speakers. So we branch out and we try to do more of those connections and building those relationships across the community so that you can reach out to the whole sort of Go ecosystem to help bring up your local community and make connections, right? So we offer sponsorship services. We offer we connect you with speakers. We're going to be looking at doing workshops for this upcoming year. Sorry, my phone is behind me ringing. So that's the GDN in a nutshell. I'll pause for a second because I feel like I said a lot. Is there anything you want me to clarify, dive into a little deeper there before I go into the next question?
No, I think that's clear. And where online, if people want to kind of dive in, learn a bit more, where online can they find more information?
Yeah, so our website, gobridge.org, right? You go there and we have on our main navigation bar, you'll see a link for each of the main programs, right? For sponsorship for the GDN and everything else that GoBridge does. If you don't want to visit gobridge.org, you can hit us up on our GitHub, right? Which is where we manage everything. So it's github.com/gobridge/GDN. And in there, you'll find our program charter. You'll find out the requirements for being part of the GDN. You can open an issue if you need to open up, if you want to request a Zoom, or if you want to create a new group. That's, and then also in Go for Slack, we have the GDN-meetup channels. GDN-meetups with an S, that's our channel. That's where we live. So you can always reach us there if you have any questions or you want to reach out. All right. I'll take a swig of water, and then I go into the next question, which is like current state of the Gopher community. Cool. So where are we? Gopher current state of the Gopher the Go Meetup community. We have about 370 or more organizers. I feel like we just added another meetup group 2 weeks ago, and with 100 plus groups. At one point we were up to 200, and now we're down to 109. And we sort of did earlier, maybe about 2 years ago, we kind of filtered out the groups that weren't active, and then doubled down on the ones that are active, because we want people to go and find active groups, right? There's nothing, it's nothing more defeating than to like log onto meetup.com and say, hey, there's a meetup, there's a community next to me. And then you go there and it's like inactive, right? So we're just trying to like limit, or filter down that surface area so that people can get active groups. Now, so we've added a few new groups. I think we've seen sort of a bit of a dip post pandemic on in-person groups, right? I want to say for obvious reasons, but I don't know because I don't really know what that means because I think some groups are still very much active in the in-person space, but we definitely seen an uptick in virtual meetups, and I think that is probably where we want to go moving forward, right? I think there's right now there's a lot more interest in people joining remotely than they are in person. I would love to know why, other than just commute, but I think if there's something there, or post-pandemic, yeah, I don't even know what I'm trying to say there. I would love to know why, but I think the community is still very much vibrant, right? And I think we're all here. We all met each other. We spoke to each other in person at GopherCon this year, right? So I think it's still very much doing what we intended to do, which is to build these bridges and bring up all the local communities. I've been talking with Guillermo and the Go Guadalajara group for, I don't know, over 3 years now, right? So these connections are happening. They're still very vibrant, maybe not as prevalent as they were when we first started, but they're still very much, active and doing what we want to do. Right. Does that?
Yeah. No, really appreciate you kind of giving that kind of taking that pulse, giving that overview. So as we kind of come to the second to last section of our episode, I would love to talk a little bit about kind of advice, like ways that people can get involved, advice for people who might be nervous to attend their first meetup, or if they're wanting to speak at a meetup. All kind of advice on kind of if you're thinking, okay, I have this crew of people that I have a beer with or a coffee with, we all like Go. We don't have a local meetup. How can we start one, or we're nervous about starting one? I would love to hear kind of an advice for any of those people from each of you. I'll kind of go round. Start with maybe Guillermo. Would love to hear kind of what your advice is for people.
Sure, of course. I think it's completely normal to feel nervous about attending to any meetup, especially if we are not sure what to expect. But I think my advice is to remember that meetups are designed to be a welcoming space. So I think we have to be relaxed and just attend. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, just know that the people that are going to these meetups, that you're going to be meeting with, they're all in the same boat for the most part. I mean, everybody wants to they want to learn or they want to share, and just feel part of the community, because I mean that's really what it's all about, is that learning from each other and sharing each other's experiences and that, and then it's. And then if you're speaking, don't worry. Don't try to be perfect. That's the good part about, with the meetups, is that these are real people. It's not going to be some polished demonstration or something like that. It's things happen, and then, but yeah, don't worry about being perfect. And I know that's hard to do, being a, kind of obsessive person myself. So, yeah.
I think meetups are a great place if you're thinking of like applying to speak at a conference or a larger meetup, like going to a smaller meetup or kind of your local meetup and kind of doing a test run. Do whatever talk you're hoping to submit. It's a great chance for you to get feedback, for you to like get feelers and make edits before you're presenting at one of these larger conferences.
Exactly.
So I agree. I think definitely no need to be perfect. I feel like I once tried to present something and I had to restart like 5 times because I like messed up. I was like, oh, I want to try that section again. Like, do you all mind? And they were like, yeah, go for it. Like, I was like, okay, give me feedback. I'm going to try it out. And I did the same talk like 5 times with slight edits. And then I went around afterwards. I was like, okay, which version did you like the best? So like that active workshopping my conference talk. So agreed.
Yeah, you can maybe even do the Scooby-Doo time machine, go back in time and do over, it's all good. And you might find your next passion too. I mean, because I found that I actually enjoy doing some of these talks and, sharing my experiences and kind of teaching, dare I say. But I don't know.
That's a stretch, my friend. That's a stretch.
Yeah, I know. I know. I feel like I'm more like stand-up comedy or something. But as long as I get laughs, I'm all good. I always used to say I want to be the Matt Ryer of the U.S., for the Go community. So
if anyone's going to be the Matt Ryer of the U.S., I think it should be. Wilkin, I would love to hear your advice specifically for people thinking of starting a meetup.
Starting a meetup.
Yeah.
Become an organizer.
Yeah.
Just do it, right? To kind of quote our good friends over at Nike, just do it. I think, it's either going to work or it's not, right? And you're going to learn why it doesn't. And then you're going to find that maybe other people are going to help you bring it up, right? And I think we're in a better position now to help anyone interested in starting a meetup group. You could always reach out to GDN at gobridge.org and we'll help you get started, right? And if you have some time that you want to invest, it really is, I would just say, just do it, because either way, you're going to learn from it. So if you take anything away from what I just said, just email us. Email gdn at gobridge.org. We'll help you get started and then kind of figure out what the next steps are. And then you could ask yourself, really, if you really want to do it. I feel like we had someone email and said, hey, I want to start a group. And my response was like, okay, great. This is what it entails. If sounds like you're up for it, let's make it happen. If you're not up for it, then, we move on. So I think that's the first piece of advice. Just reach out and say, I want to do it. And then we can kind of walk through the logistics. And then you can really determine whether you have the time and effort to make it happen.
I wanted to add on to about not having fear around starting the group and a fear around if what people are going to show up. Sometimes it might only be a couple of people, and that's like a really valuable experience for that small group. If it's just you, then maybe it's maybe it just didn't work out time and place. Don't take it personally. Just keep on going.
For sure. I want to tackle the 3 points really quickly. Everyone's nervous to do new things, right? We're nervous to do this podcast. And Angelica brought up earlier that, you hold something when you want to speak, your little fidget toy. And most of us here held up something that we're holding in our hands right now. And what I want to tell people is you're going to be nervous going to meetups, but so are the organizers. It's okay. You're in good company. So go ahead and attend, right? Don't be the lurker, go attend. And if you want to speak at such meetups, you're already not speaking at them, right? So you know what that side is. So why don't you try something new and speak at these meetups and talk to the organizer? Say, hey, here's a couple pitches I have for things I want to talk about. And the organizer will help kind of filter that down into something that's going to be helpful for the community that they have. And the last part about venues and funding, if you're starting a Go Meetup, there's funding for you. Reach out to Wilkin, GDN. We already talked about that. Venues are hard. I'm not going to lie to you. Venues are very, very difficult. And a lot of companies, especially after the COVID ZERP era, they've pulled back a lot of strings. They don't want people in their spaces. They don't have the funds or the capacity to deal with that. But Jennifer and Hannah gave a really good alternative. Sometimes you can just start with a dinner, right? Or just go to an escape room together or something. I don't know. You can start with just an activity and bring your people together, and you'll just naturally talk about some of that tech stuff. That's a perfect start to a meetup. And then from there, you can build up and find the real venue and whatnot.
And I feel, Matthew, 100%, man. And I feel like this is a great opportunity to say, find the stoop. Stoopness is a thing, if anything, you can't find a venue, find the cool looking stoop, sit down,
so true.
Everybody bring their own drink and then just talk.
Does it have to be a stoop that you're in though? Am I just gonna take the Q train to Brooklyn, find a random stoop and sit on it? And then this poor person's gonna come out of their home and be like, what are you doing?
It's stoop as a service, of course. It's a product now. It's a product.
Yeah, well, this is it. As Jennifer said, you just do it, right? Just kind of go, show up, and try just get past that fear, and you have people show up, right? Sit on the stoop. People be like, why is this lady sitting on the stoop? Here to talk about.
Bring all my gophers, all the gophers around me.
If I saw you sitting on the stoop with gophers and I didn't know you, I'm gonna be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
I'm talking to you for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a go. I will bring all my gophers, sit on a random Brooklyn stoop, and see how many people. Hannah can join me with their lovely gopher hat.
I mean, I know we're laughing about it and joking about it, but think about that for a second. You wear a shirt that says something, and people are going to comment on that, right? Or you have a cool hat or a bag or whatever. People are going to be like, hey, nice bag, nice sneakers, nice hat, nice shirt. It's the same concept. You've piqued someone's interest enough that they now want to stop and talk to you about it because they know they have at least one thing that they can interact with you about. And then as they talk to you, they'll find more and more and more. And then boom, you just grew a community. Wild to think about that, right?
Yeah, right there. Facts, my friend. Facts. Wow, you on this morning.
I slept for once. I actually slept.
Last but not least, Hannah, I want to hear your tip.
I wanted to talk about giving a talk. because actually the Women Who Go was the first talk I given to because I needed one, and they're like, and it took me a minute to nobody else volunteered, and I was like, well, what can I give a talk about? And I realized like you can give a talk on the smallest thing. Like you can give a talk about something that you have horribly messed up, like. And people are going to learn from that, especially newer engineers. Like you can give on something small that you've done for work. I ended up giving it on cryptography, which was not small, but something I've been doing at work a lot. But like the point being is like there are tons of things if you just sit down and think about it that you can give a talk on. You just have to. Like I even gave a talk once on because I worked on an ATS on like working on your resume. Like it can be even peripheral. It doesn't have to be hugely technical. It can just be something that somebody else can learn from you. And as long as you've touched some lines of code, there's something someone can learn from you. Because there's somebody out there who hasn't touched code before.
Very well said.
Yeah, well said. Right. This does bring us to the conclusion of our conversation about meetups and the Go community. But if anyone has any final thoughts, closing statement that they absolutely must get off their chest, this is your moment.
I just want to reiterate the two things I said before. One, it's not a showcase, it's a meetup. And two, lurkers are not a community, right? So like be active in the community. That's the only two things I really want to say. Sorry, I know Wilke and Hannah or others had something to say too. I saw the lights go up, so that's why.
I think you closed us out.
No, I'm so
really
sorry.
Nicely, honestly.
No. Where's the unpopular opinions jingle? Just play it. Just play it.
Before we get to that, I do want to say this. I was going to say the same thing that Matthew said, so that's covered. But no, what I do want to say is we are working with the Go team to try to add a question to the Go survey this year, the next one coming up about meetups and like what, whether you're engaged in meetups and what may be preventing you from joining meetups, right? If that question does come out, I would like to encourage all of the listeners to, please chime in and give some input because that will definitely help us better understand how we on the GDN can better serve you and kind of help cater meetups a bit better for all of the attendees and future speakers. So if it comes down the wire, please respond.
Don't just lurk and look at it. Engage, fill it out. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure spending this past kind of hour or so with you all. We're now going to turn over to my favorite part of the show because this has all been fun and games about community. Now we're going to get a bit spicy and turn over to unpopular opinions where I don't know if we're all going to remain this cordial.
I actually think you should probably leave.
Right. We have, first up to the unpopular opinions plate, Hannah.
Okay, this is probably going to be a little unpopular, but I've worked in Go for a while, but I still really like PHP unit more than I like the regular Go testing. Even Testify to an extent. It just works better.
That's fair. That's a preference.
It's preference.
I can't say it's correct. Yeah, I can't say it's correct or not. It's a preference. It's like the moms with a child or whatever. That's nice, honey. Like really pat them on the head. Like.
I think that is you fulfilled the brief of unpopular opinion.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, no notes. Good job.
I think the best unpopular opinions are the ones where you squint your eyes, tilt your head, somewhat like a golden retriever, and go, let me think about that for a moment. Jennifer.
Okay, so this is maybe less unpopular because we did just talk about food for a while. And so, you know how like trendy restaurants these days, they keep telling you like this $15 dish is made to share? And then it's like 2 pieces. And like, you got to stop doing that. And tell me like it's the sample if it's going to do that. Like you have to, if it's to share, it's got to be like feed 6 people, like at a Chinese restaurant. Like I'm going to like stop telling me to share my 2 bites. So maybe that's more popular than unpopular, but that's my 2 cents.
No, I love to have spring rolls to share and just have one. That's ideal.
It's when you ask the waiter or waitress too, and they're like, yeah, this would totally like, fit your group. No, it doesn't. Why did you lie to my face? Like, you just lied to me.
I think the one thing I would say that's good about that is if you are in a group setting, I know we're out of the meetups section of the show, but for like a meetup, if you get a load of little dishes, then it's potentially less food waste, there's more selection.
True.
You don't have to buy like a huge plate of, I don't know, vegan dumplings where there's only one vegan, and that poor vegan feels social pressure to eat like twice their weight in dumplings.
Fair enough.
We're not speaking from personal experience at all, of course.
They should just say how many there are. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have a meetup of a couple people and like each of them have, their unique dietary requirements, that actually more turns into a little share a plate for each person. But I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
You do have a point there.
I think I've been disappointed recently from.
I'm sorry. When we have the pleasure of going for a meal together, I will ensure that I ask exactly how many pieces will be on that sharing platter.
All right, thank you.
Right. Next up, Matthew.
Cool. Yeah, I have two quick ones. One's about Go, one's more general. The Go one is, I believe that the variable name for the receiver of methods should just be self. I'm glad that we were able to change it to whatever we want, but it should just be self by default. I don't want to deal with it. That's my Go unpopular opinion. The general one is the short form of mathematics is math, not maths. Okay, and I don't want to hear it. This is not up for debate. Okay. So yeah, those are my
Jeez, calling
opinions.
us up on our grammar.
It just doesn't sound correct, spoken.
I want to hear the backstory on this math.
Yeah.
I don't know. It never sounded right when people say oh, I'm doing maths today. I'm like, you said one extra letter you didn't need to say. Why did you do this? I don't know. It never clicked with me, but it makes sense. I don't know. But then it doesn't, because you're supposed to shorten it, but you shortened it and then took some words out and then put an S in it. I don't know.
So you know that it's a good one, a good unpopular opinion, because you yourself, Matthew, as you spoke it, did the tilt of the head and the
Yeah.
He was dropping a hit for the setup.
Yeah. And then finally we have Paul closing us out. What's your unpopular opinion?
Oh, well, I was just Matthew, I was almost going to think there that next thing you know, you're going to be saying something like, it's Z, not Z.
This is true.
I mean, I, for one, don't say Z. I say Z. Z for zebra. Not Z for zebra.
Okay, we'll allow this one. You're the host. It's fine.
Sorry. No. Paul, you gave me an unpopular one. Just right off the bat there. What's your?
Yeah, mine's a non-go one. Mine's kind of non-technical, really. But everyone should learn to read a map, for directions. It's just damn you, Google, for being so good in making people lazy.
I don't know if you could say that on this talk, considering they're sponsoring part of it.
Oh, sorry. Oops. I thought we were being sponsored by Nike this time. I heard Wilkins say something.
Just for the listeners to clarify, you mean hash map, right? That's exactly what you mean?
Exactly. Concurrent hash maps, yes.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
Yeah, turn left at the McDonald's that doesn't exist anymore. It's fine. It's okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend this time with you all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I appreciate, for those who don't know, we did record this very early in the morning for some of us. So I appreciate them spending their morning with me. And hope to speak to you all soon and see many of you at meetups very soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
That is Go Time for this week. Thanks for listening. Subscribe now if you haven't already. Head to gotime.fm for all the ways, or simply search for Go Time in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find us. Also, check out some of our other shows if you want more developer-focused podcast goodness. The Changelog, JS Party, Practical AI, and Ship It are all worth at least one listen. Thanks once again to our partners at Fly.io, to our Beat Freakin' residents, Breakmaster Cylinder, and to our longtime sponsors, Sentry. Use code Changelog at signup and save yourself $100 off a Sentry team plan. Why not, right? That is all for now, but we'll talk to you again next time on Go Time.